Good morning and welcome to Daylight with Dean number 73 on June 23rd, 2020. I'm so grateful that you are here with me today. And if you are live, the time is 5:49 a.m. Very exciting to gain one more minute than the previous 2 weeks. And the thing I'm looking forward to right now is my first sip of coffee. So let's enjoy that together. Wow. Well, good morning. Great to see you guys. I'm so glad that you're here with me this morning. I am so grateful for those of you that saw Daylight with Dean number 72, for your feedback, for your comments. I just thoroughly enjoyed being able to share my brother-in-law with all of you. I got some great brother-in-laws, to be honest with you, just some fantastic brother-in-laws. And Scotty just is so funny. Up at his house we went to visit him on Sunday. My son Alex, he said, "Mom, if you want to know where I get my goofiness and how I act, it's from Uncle Scott." Anyways, it was very funny. When I was talking to Scott last evening, kind of, debriefing about the whole experience, I told him when he gets back from his tour of duty that I want to have him again on Daylight, and he was not quite so open to that idea, but I'm sure will prevail and be able to share that. The other thing I told him is that I find Scott has some sayings. He has some sayings that he quotes all the time, and they're kind of Scott-isms, and they crack me up. And I said, "Now, next time you're on, we're going to share, your famous sayings." And so I look forward to that. Also, I meant to mention, I put it in the comments, but during Daylight yesterday, I meant to mention that in the top left-hand corner of the screen was was a sketch, a color sketch of Scott and Glenn and Leslie and Jim's uncle, James English. And Lieutenant Colonel James English was a pilot as well with the military, and seeing the way that he influenced his nephews. Two of them are pilots, and stories of how he would fly in from their farm in Ohio and fly into Rock Airport in West Deer and take everybody up in the airplane, and all those memories made a deep impression on Scott and Glenn. And Glenn is a pilot with United, and Scott is a helicopter pilot with the military. And it's fun to listen to Scott and Glenn debate which pilot is more impressive, the fixed wing pilot or the helicopter pilot. And it's quite amusing to hear them go at it about that. So, but Lieutenant Colonel James English, their uncle, died when he was, I believe, 43 years old in a weekend trip with the reserves. Was bringing an airplane back from out west, and Saturday morning, the flight that he was piloting, he was the only one on the flight, and the ailerons, the wings froze, and the plane was not responding, and he ejected and did not survive that. So that was just a heartbreaking experience for their family. I believe it was in March of '79. And, I tease my mother-in-law about how just about every day, every time we have a conversation, it centers around death, because she always tells a story about this person that died and that person that died and this person that died. And my children find it quite amusing. And Carol, I think she's a little tired of hearing about it. And the last time on Daylight, I mentioned somebody passing. She let me know that she's not the only one who talks about death. And I'm like, wow, that's great. But yesterday, I don't really want to share this, but it left such an impression on me yesterday that I didn't navigate it the way that I hoped that I would. I got a call, I believe it was on Friday. Parishioner's cousin had passed. A parishioner's cousin stepson had passed away. And my parishioner's mother called and asked if I might be available to do a funeral on Monday. And I was, and she was quite distraught, and she kept apologizing to me, and she said, well, I'm sorry. She called on Friday. She said, I'm sorry it's such short notice. And I said, well, the truth is every funeral is short notice. I mean, you don't really map them out most times and plan them when you want them to be down the road. So that was a real heartbreaking funeral. 16-year-old, handsome, good-looking young man that died. And just walking through that grief with his family it got to me yesterday. Every time I do a funeral, I engage with the family in their grief, and I meet them with their grief, and I've lived some of that grief with losing both of my parents in accidental deaths before I was ready, but it was yesterday. The grief was so overwhelming that I got home and I just noticed that I not only connected with them with their grief, but I kind of owned and latched on to some of that grief myself. And so yesterday morning I went to work out, and my instructor we didn't connect on I didn't register for the class in time, so he canceled it. So my buddy and I were there, and there was no class to go to. So about 4:30 last night, my buddy calls me and he says, hey, I'm going to take our class at 7 o'clock tonight. Do you want to join me? And I'm like, yes, I do. I need a workout after that. And so I met him there, worked out, and we do 4 different sets of 2 to 3 exercises each set. Some with resistant bands, some with free weights, some with our own weight that's part of the exercise. And then we finish up with a 1 set of core exercises, and we usually do about 6 exercises there. And so I did the first 3, no problem. We did the 4th one, and I did the first set of 3, and was cycling back to the 2nd set, and I did the first one of the 2nd set, I'm sorry, I'm sounding a little detailed, but I just couldn't do it. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't do it, because I've always just done it. And I just sat down, and this sadness just got so overwhelming to me. And so my instructor came over and checked on me. They're always afraid I'm gonna have a heart attack and die, like on them. They're like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm like, "Okay, I'm okay." No, like what? Like, look, I did a funeral. I'm overwhelmed by the grief. I'm okay. Okay, just do what you need. So I sat there and I started to cry, and I'm in a gym. I'm starting to cry. So I go outside to the street. They had two doors. I go out in the back door on the sidewalk, and I just put my head down on a little roof structure there, and just start to bawl. Not bawl, just start to sob. Okay, I was crying. I don't know what adjective or descriptor fits it best, but I was just heartbroken over not just the boys passing, but how broken the parents, what they're facing, how broken the friends, family members are. Just so overwhelming. And so I went back to the front of the gym, and then, my friend and the instructor came out and really were like worried about me. I'm like, "Guys, I'm okay. Just overwhelmed with emotion. Can't finish my set. I'm okay." Got some water, got composed, went back in and finished the fifth set of the core exercises with the 6 different exercises. And I went home. Leslie's like, "Hey, I'm at my mom's. Pick me up there." So I swung by, picked them up, kind of debriefed with my in-laws and wife, and was driving down the driveway coming home, and I met my daughter, who was leaving to go see a friend, and my eyes were red and bloodshot. My daughter saw me. She's like, "Dad, what's the matter?" I'm like, "I'm just sad from the funeral I did today." And she's like, she started freaking out. She goes, "I hate when I see you cry. I hate when I see you so upset. I hate when I see you sad." I said, "Abby, I'm okay. I'm just sad. I just experienced a lot of grief today. I'm okay." And then she just really started to be emotional because she doesn't like to see her dad. And that just moved me so much, that my pain that she saw in my red eyes and knowing that I was sad and upset hit her. And then, I started thinking about the times that she has seen me grieve that strong and stronger. And so I say all that to say the last time I did a funeral, I felt that much, that strong, that much sadness and pain and grief that I latched onto and brought into my spirit and my soul. Was the last time was about 7-8 years ago, I think. I can't remember. It was a murder suicide and estranged husband and wife, and it was awful. And I remember calling my pastor friend Steve Childs, who was my mentor, and just crying to him, and just crying and just venting my pain and sadness to him of that event 7-8 years ago. And he just said, "Buddy, I'm so proud of you." He said, I'm so proud of you that you still have a heart that's soft toward people after all these years in ministry. And last night, I was reminded that one of my deepest prayers for myself, for my soul in ministry, is coming true. ever since I became a pastor, my prayer was, God, please allow my heart as I'm a pastor to grow bigger toward you and to grow bigger toward others the longer I'm a pastor. And, a lot of pastors, the joke is that they feel like, well, ministry would be a whole lot of fun if it just weren't for all the people. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that that work that I am doing, have done in my life, to the connection that I've continued to seek with Jesus Christ, has continued to help my heart stay soft toward God, grow bigger toward the Lord. I love the Lord more now than I have at any time previous in my life. I'm growing in my relationship with Him. Just a more trusting, intimate relationship than I really anticipated. I'm so grateful for that. And I love people. On Father's Day, when I shared about my dad and how he loved people, that's one of the things that he passed on to me, because he kind of gave me permission. It's okay. It's all about relationships, and it's okay to love people the way you do. He never said that, but he lived that and gave me permission to follow that. So, I wanted to debrief that with you this morning, and I just want to ask, how's your heart? Is it growing bigger toward the Lord? Is it growing bigger toward people? Are you in love with the Lord more the longer you walk with Him? Or maybe you're not walking with Him, and I just want to ask, are you open to taking that next step toward Him? But is your love of God and love of others, is it growing? Because that's really the goal. I do not want to end up standing before the Lord at the end of my time here on earth, standing before the Lord and saying, I grew you an enormous church of thousands and thousands of people, and have a shriveled up little raisin of a heart to show for it. And we are designed, we are created to love God and love others. It's the most important commandment that the Lord gave us. And I just want to ask, if your heart's not growing bigger towards others and bigger towards God, what's kind of in the way of that? Perhaps you've navigated some grief in your life and you've gotten stuck in that and you haven't pushed through. If you find yourself there, I want to invite you to go see a grief counselor. Man, I got a really good one that my grief counselor, she rescued my soul. The Lord used her in a significant way. Maybe you're stuck in anger or unforgiveness or something that's holding you back from loving God and loving others more. And I'd just like to ask, whatever it is, if there's anything, move toward it. Have the courage to face it and navigate it. Go talk to a Christian counselor. Give me a holler. Because when you grow in your love for God and love for others, the longer you're alive, it's a good place to be. I want to thank you for sharing Daylight with me this morning, and would like to just pray for you to that end.
my deepest hope for you. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for each person that took the time today to share in this time together. And Lord, I just pray that you would help each of them. Father, grief has a way of derailing us in significant ways. Anger and disappointment with you derail so many of us in significant ways. And if we don't come to terms with that, if we don't navigate that, if we don't push through that, if we don't bring that to you, we can just get stuck in it. And I pray for the men and women watching today that might be stuck in that anger, in that grief, in that pain. And Lord, I pray that you would bring healing to their lives. I pray that they would admit it, that they would confess it, that they would say it out loud. I'm angry at you, God, and I don't want to stay there. Or that they would just confess where they are if their heart isn't growing bigger toward others. And I pray, Lord, that you would help them work through that. Lord, I pray that you would surround this family that I spent the day with yesterday with your love and your grace and your healing and your goodness, even in the midst of their heartbreak. And Father, I just ask in your life-giving, healing name, I ask that you would help each person today grow in their love for you and grow in their love for others. And at the end of their life, when they stand before you, they'll have a heart that's full of love for you and the life that you gave through the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, and the forgiveness of sins, new life in you. I pray, Lord, that their heart would grow so big towards you and so big towards others that they would have a full heart at the end of their run. Thank you for your faithfulness and your goodness and your love. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Thanks, everybody. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow morning. God bless you.